Hey guys, welcome to Get Busy Watching. I'm your host, Honest Dan. Let's talk movies. For those of you too young to know this, the Rambo franchise actually started with a book called First Blood, written in 1972 by David Morrell. Now, personally, I've never read it, but to my understanding, when it was adapted into its 82 film, Sylvester Stallone used his star power to change a few things up. Chief among them, Rambo doesn't die at the end. Now, granted, they did film that ending to make it more faithful to the actual book, but I guess Stallone wanted a franchise out of this, and by the grace of M60s everywhere, he got what he wished for, and the 80s has thanked him every day since. In any case, First Blood was a stellar flick, but easily forgettable due to its successors. Similar to the Mad Max franchise, the second flick gave the franchise its identity. Over-the-top action, but it did have an emotional center, and remains an action milestone to this day. Rambo 3 comes out and took the over-the-top nature of the second film to a whole nother level. Whether or not in a good way will be up to the viewer. Still, if over-the-top action is your baggage, this movie is for you. Personally, my favorite installment is the fourth outing, confusingly titled Rambo. It seemed like it was trying to take the best of all the movies into a single outing. Over-the-top action that's not ridiculous or beyond the realm of plausibility, but retains some of the emotional center. Is it as emotionally fueled as the first flick? No, but the action really stands out for me. If First Blood Part 2 could be updated for a modern audience, I believe this was the best that could be done. Also, I just love the violence fest that is the climax. But now let's get to the main event, which is Rambo Last Blood.
I've lived in a world of death. All these years I've kept my secrets. But the time has come to face my past. And if it comes looking for me, they will welcome death. Ride till I can't no more.
It's directed by Adrian Grunberg, whose previous work I am not familiar with. The cast includes Sylvester Stallone from Creed 2, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and Ratchet and Clank. Yvette Monreal from Lowriders. Oscar Henada, known for Gold and The Shallows. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. I'm going to have to double down on that apology because I know I'm going to get this one wrong. Sergio Peris-Mencheta. Anyway, he is known for Life Itself. And Paz Vega, known for The Spirit and Spanglish. Now, I'm not going to lie. Going into Last Blood, I was a little skeptical. On the one hand, Rambo does deserve an end. Unlike Rocky, or I guess Creed now, you can see that story, continuing. Whereas Rambo is a different story. He's a war veteran. He deserves to live a life without war, without conflict, without violence. Here's my issue, though. The marketing team sucks dick. There was zero hype around this movie. I'm actually pretty sure a lot of people don't even know this movie is out. Really? It's fucking Rambo. Act like you guys give a shit. And by you guys, I mean the marketing team. This is a franchise that deserves just as much hype built around it as any superhero movie. You can probably argue that Rambo is the reason superhero movies exist. So, I was terrified that this movie wasn't going to be good. Was I right? Fuck no, I was dead wrong and I couldn't be happier. I had such a blast watching this. What I really like about the beginning is how it takes its time to flesh out the characters. In the decade that Rambo's been home, he's become a horse tamer on the family farm, lives in a series of underground tunnels, and keeps a watchful eye on his niece, Gabrielle. Now, one can probably argue that this is kind of by the numbers, and admittedly, it kind of is. I mean, who's Gabrielle? She's your prototypical nice girl, wide-eyed innocent who just wants to go to college and make something of her life. But what I really think hits home about the character is, for one thing, Monreal is a really good actress and does well with what she's given. And she has a fair amount of chemistry with Stallone, so it's always engaging. You see the loving connection that they have with each other. You know that Stallone is extremely protective of her, especially when it comes to her curiosity about her father, who's a deadbeat asshole who abandoned her as a child. But what I really appreciate is the inner conflict she has regarding that matter. She hears Rambo when he's telling her that her father wasn't a good man. But having that hole in her soul and having that determination to want to seek answers, regardless of happy or sad ending, is something that I can personally identify with. So as far as developing an emotional connection is concerned, it gets the job done. About the only thing that I really don't like about the beginning is how exposition heavy it can kind of get. Far too many times, the characters will go off into mini tangents about their home life and hammer away at inner conflict that we can figure out on our own. Especially when it comes to Gabrielle's father. We're told stories about how he used to beat Gabrielle's mom and Rambo had to yank him off of her. I don't know, I feel like when we actually get to meet the character later on and everything that he says to Gabrielle is reason enough to hate the guy. The easiest solution I can think of to offset this is actually show us the scenes that are being described. Have them play out in like mini flashbacks in the beginning as opposed to a montage of the arsenal that we know Rambo is going to use later on. Either way, show us mini flashbacks or drop the exposition altogether. Could have only benefited the story. But now the story kicks off. Gabrielle goes to Mexico to look for her father. Her father's a dickweed. Her friend takes her to a club to get sold into sex trafficking. Stallone goes after her, knowing something's wrong, follows the guys that took her, gets his ass kicked, and now we get to one other problem that I have with the story. Probably a minor one, but not really. Paz Vega's character. Carmen is a character who lost her own daughter to these same sex traffickers, the Martinez brothers. And basically her role in the story is just to be what drives the story forward for Rambo. She's the one who has the information to lead Rambo to these guys, and that's kind of it. She also kind of serves as I saved Rambo because Rambo needs saving from women every so often, I guess. Not that it's done poorly, but honestly, you could have taken her out of the situation and Rambo could have just gone to any hospital and the story would have ended up just fine. Because he ends up going to the same location every time. Just the second time he goes, there's a lot more bodies.
This is a lovely room of death.
But now we get our first big action scene with Rambo kicking ass. He locates his niece, grabs a hammer, beats the shit out of everyone that he sees, and wait, hold on a second. What the hell are you doing here? Piss off! That was weird. Jokes aside, yeah, this movie totally rips that scene off. But hey, it's just as gratifying, so I'm not complaining too much. Anyway, he gets her out of that situation, they go home, and now it's just a build-up to the final confrontation between Rambo and the Martinez brothers. So from this point on, guys, I'm going to be talking about spoilers, so if you don't want anything spoiled, jump to this time code. So by this point in the story, Gabrielle dies of a drug overdose. Rambo goes back to Mexico to get his revenge. He kills one of the Martinez brothers, which sends the other guy into a flurry, and gears up to go find Rambo, and Rambo starts gearing up for that inevitable conflict. The ticket was worth it just for this alone. Violence, gore, mayhem. Oh my god. This is how you do a proper action movie, and this just blew me away with how much fun I was having. I am just cringing at everything. I am screaming with the audience. And it's just, I've not been this engaged in an action movie all year, at least as far as outside of superhero movies anyway. So I gotta say, I had an absolute blast just seeing everyone getting shot, impaled, limbs getting ripped off, and why is Rambo not a Mortal Kombat character? He needs to be. Ed Boon, make Rambo a Mortal Kombat character, for the love of God. It's that gory and it's that satisfying. The only thing I will say, and unfortunately I do have to be a little critical, I don't like this ending. I really don't. The primary reason is because this is touted as the final Rambo movie. Now, there's two ways you could have gone about that. You could have had it that Rambo survives the events and just makes it clear that he's never going to fight again. Or he dies. Kind of seems obvious, right? Here's the problem. I know that the Rambo franchise isn't exactly known for happy endings necessarily, but this is actually kind of the movie that would warrant it. Rambo should have been able to save Gabrielle and get her to safety, and that's when the Martinez brothers would have came over and, that whole climax would have happened. This would have been fine if Rambo ended up dying and taking all of these guys with him. I mean, what better way for Rambo to die than to save the last person that he truly loved? Or, again, you could have him live throughout the events. Either way, the problem is that Gabrielle died, and that's too dark for an ending like this. Especially for the ending narration, it implies that Rambo is going to continue living and continue fighting. You're sort of leaving it open that there could be a sequel to Rambo. But it's Last Blood. Last Blood. You are making a heavy implication that there isn't going to be more. And yet, you're basically telling us, you're leaving that door open that there could be one more. So, Rambo Last Blood Part 2? Rambo Last Blood Last Part? I'm honestly confused what the filmmakers were going for, what the writers were going for. It doesn't feel like it lends itself to this kind of ending. My vote, Gabrielle should have lived and gone off to live her life. Rambo could have died, could have lived. It would have been a satisfying ending. I don't like what they did here, and it really hurts the project.
Swing and a miss.
Overall, I really like this movie. It's probably one of my favorite action films of the year. Definitely has some problems, especially toward the end. But honestly, I had a blast. My honest rating for Rambo Last Blood is a strong 4 out of 5. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. I really appreciate it. Have a great day. Hope to see you soon.